Hey guys, what's up? Welcome back here to today's episode of Intuitive Angling, and thanks for swinging by the channel and spending some of your day with me. Really appreciate that. And guys, today I have a test for Livescopers, and I have a test that I can promise you 95% of the scopers out there will fail this test. Probably 99% of them will fail it. But one of the reasons I wanted to do this is this doesn't necessarily come from the people that livescope, but it comes from the defenders of the people that like to livescope. They always say, these guys are just as good as with or without it, and they're going to kick your butt with or without it. I hear the same thing all the time. It's like, all you older guys, you're all washed up, and you guys are just screaming at the clouds. These younger guys, they'd kick your ass with or without livescope. Well, I got a test. It's like, let's see. I tell you what, it's like, if somebody can pass, if there's a livescoper that can pass the test that I'm getting ready to give right now, I'll buy a dang livescope, because I know they can't pass it, and I'm going to explain to you guys why in today's video. So anyway, I just wanted to do that to sort of silence some of these people that say that, people that are scopers, are just as good at any other technique that there is out there, because they're not. So we're going to get into that in today's episode. I'm also, guys, one real quick reminder, there's 1 week left in the sale on my Solar Bat series, the Christmas sale going on with them. Right now, you can get a pair of my RB3s, which are these right here, or the RB2 lenses at 50% off, half price, guys. You get a free hard case to put them in, free shipping and handling. And guys, the optical clarity on these Solar Bats, designed by Dr. Gary Nesty, who's an optometrist and a bass fisherman, second to none. You guys will absolutely love them. I'll put the Solar Bat link in the description, or you can also get them through my Tackle Warehouse link. The Tackle Warehouse sells them as well, so we'll do that. And then also, guys, real quick, we do still have my Fish the Moment lake map breakdowns for the winter months up on there. Great places, guys, to get you some good places to fish this winter. These maps give you GPS waypoints that you can download and straight to some really good places where bass live in the wintertime, with tips and advice on how to fish those areas. So I'll have that linked in the description, that my Fish the Moment breakdown list too, so I appreciate that. Okay, the only reason I'm doing this, first of all, it's like, I always want to reiterate this, because there's a bunch of people out there that just, they hear what they want to hear. This whole conversation about forward-facing sonar and younger generation, I've always said, guys, I don't blame them at all. I understand they have to use it to compete, and I always blame the tournament organizations for forcing them and putting them in the position of that. Ultimately, Bassmaster and MLF are to the blame for this whole livescope debacle we're in the middle of, and forcing these young kids to have to learn it to compete. It's not their fault. They're doing what they have to do to compete. But nevertheless, one of the things I'm pretty defensive about is the art form of bass fishing. And I take it personally as an insult when somebody says, it's like, bass fishing's not an art form, and these guys at Livescope that have been fishing for 5 years are just as good as you guys are, with or without it. That's an insult to the true art form of fishing, because the true art form of bass fishing, and the test that I'm getting ready to give the Livescopers right now, it is, you never learn it all. It takes decades to master, and it takes a lifetime to learn, and then you still don't learn everything. And for somebody to try to diminish that, the true art form of fishing, I'm not going to put up with that, because it's not. People have worked a long time to earn that mastery of it. And I want to give a little test right now to those people that seem to think the Livescopers could kick anybody's ass with or without it. So let's start about this. Okay. So if you're a livescoper, I don't care if you're an 18-year-old high school livescoper, or a 25-year-old Elite Series livescoper, or a 40-year-old tech livescoper, it doesn't make any difference. Here's my question to you guys, or my test that I'm going to give you, that will gauge your true bass fishing experience as an art form, not as a video game, because there's no honor in catching bass with forward-facing sonar. You're hooked up to an umbilical cord of an electronic unit to show you where to fish and show you where to cast. Now, yeah, granted, once you do see a fish on your video game screen, sometimes you have to manipulate that fish into biting through different lures and techniques and action. But that's a minuscule part of it. It's like, without that technology, you wouldn't even know the fish were there. So I don't want to hear that crap about, it's a skill set within itself, because it's not. It's no more of a skill set than my 8-year-old on an Oculus or a PS5 computer. Okay, so here's the real test in bass fishing. This is the test that will determine if you are a real fisherman, an artist in the form of fishing, or if you're just a video gamer. And this is a broad test. I don't have them individually, but I'm going to pose some questions here, what I would ask a live scoper if they came to me cocky saying they know everything about fishing. Okay, number one, I want you to explain to me the factors that determine the mood and the personality of the fish. I want a complete list of it that determine the level of aggressiveness or passiveness of a fish. I want you to go into detail about weather patterns, about wind speed, wind direction, barometric pressure, moon phase, fishing pressure, current velocities. And then once you do determine the mood and that personality of the fish, I want you to tell me the primary cover that the fish is going to use based upon that mood and the personality. And then based upon whatever cover it is, I don't care if it's a rock bank or a grass bed or boat docks or whatever the cover may be, I want you to tell me how specifically that you need to position your boat in terms of the casting angle to generate the strike from that fish. I want you to go into detail about the sun angle, about the current direction, about the wind speed, about the time of year, about the sunlight angle, depending upon the rotation of the earth at a certain time of the year. I want you to tell me in detail how that fish is going to be positioned on that piece of cover based upon different times of the day and the cloud cover or lack of it, and the light intensity in relationship to the water clarity and the water color. I want a complete breakdown of that. And then once you describe that to me, I want you to tell me the best lure for that. I want you to explain to me, and I want you to justify your lure selection based upon the water temperature, the water clarity, the water tint, the wind speed, the wind direction, the current velocity, the fishing pressure in the lake, how deep the cover is in relationship to the angle of the bank. I want you to tell me the exact lure. I want you to tell me the lure category. I want you to tell me the specific color. I want you to tell me the exact retrieve that you need to use, the exact pound test, the exact rod action. I want you to tell me how many casts that you need to make to that piece of cover, how the casting angle is going to affect generating a strike or not. I want you to tell me how your boat needs to be positioned on that piece of cover to do that. And then I want you to tell me what is going to trigger different size of fish. What is going to be the technique and lure that's going to trigger the bigger fish? What's going to be the technique and lure that's going to trigger the smaller fish? And then I want you to tell me how these fish are going to be affected by environmental conditions within the lake. You tell me how that fish is going to be affected, how they position on that cover based upon how many boats are in the water, the noise decibel levels that they're having, how many jet skis are on the lake, how many tournaments are out there. And I want a complete explanation of that. And that is just one aspect of it. And then you have to get into all the other realms that we haven't even touched about. But the point of my video here is you can just see from what I've talked about, if you're a live scoper that has been bass fishing for 5 years, there is no way in hell that you can tell me that, because you haven't had the decades of experience that are required to understand the nuances of those questions. That is the art form of bass fishing. If you can answer that, what I just told you right there, you need to consider yourself a real angler and an artist and a master in the sport. And it's something that's taken just countless days on the water of failure and successes and fishing all over the country. But if you cannot answer that, what I just talked about, do not call yourself a professional angler. I mean, you're a video game fisherman. And I don't mean any disrespect from that. It's just the reality of the situation. And the point of my video here, guys, is I want to defend people out there that get attacked because they don't fish with a live scope. And we've seen a big influx of people out there that defend, 20 and 25-year-old live scopers that they know just as much about fishing, excuse me, and they're just as good as anybody else, even if they don't do it. That's simply not true. If you're a defender of live scope, or if you're a live scoper, just admit it. It's like, my success, I rely on video games for my success. That's just the reality of the situation. I admit it. I'd have a lot more respect for that. I don't have any respect for somebody that tries to diminish the accomplishments of people that have spent a lifetime doing it, as just, they're just old washed up geezers. That's not the way it works. So anyway, I was just seeing this really predominant out there, and like I said, it's physically impossible to answer those questions that I talked about, because you can't fake it. It's like the only way that you can really go into detail about what I just talked about is if you've been there and done that. And I just strive for everybody to start fishing like that. It's like there's not anything that you're going to lose by it. If you start turning your bass fishing into an art form from how I just described it right there, your whole experience in the sport is going to be accentuated. It's going to be more, rewarding, a lot more, the gratification that you get out of is going to be a lot higher. The respect that you earn is going to be there. And overall, you're honoring the sport, because the sport has tradition and it has heritage, and it has the basic foundation that fishing is fishing to find fish, and the element of the unknown and the element of the uncertainty. That's the PowerPoint of fishing. And when you start removing all that from it, you diminish what the sport is about. You dishonor the sport. You dishonor the fish, everything about it. It's like, I don't know, I'll leave you guys one. A lot of you guys may have watched the show The Office. I mean, if you haven't seen The Office, let me sort of set this scenario up. There were two guys that came into this. They were trying to court a new client. They sold paper. These two paper salesmen, they sold paper. And they were trying to court this client. So they went into this client's office, and there was a picture. The client liked to fish, and there was a picture of him holding up a smallmouth bass. And they were talking about the aesthetics of fishing. And then one of the salesmen made a comment. It's like, he goes, yeah, he goes, one time, I was in the front of a boat and I shot a shark, with a gun, right off the end of the boat. And the client sort of looked at him. It's like, like he was disgusted about the how he went about catching this fish, or, taking this fish by killing it with a gun versus actually, catching it through the purest means of fishing. And that's what I'm talking about. It's like, it's not if you win or lose in fishing, it's how you play the game. And how you play the game is with honor and dignity and respect that comes from turning bass fishing into an art form and not relying on a piece of technology to show you where to do it at. So, guys, let me know what you all think about it. We'll talk later.